All right, for more on this, we're now joined by Stiaan de Wet, Executive Head of Financial Planning at NMG Benefits, and he joins us via our video link for more on this discussion. Stiaan, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition on SABC News. I mean, maybe let's start off here. For those who don't know, what is a will and why is it so important for someone to have a will?
Good evening, Bali. Yes, a will is that last document, probably one of the most important documents that you will ever sign in your life, that says, if I pass away, who gets what and how is what distributed according to my wishes that I would like to leave a legacy to my family and loved ones.
And perhaps take us through some of, the different types of wills we have in this country and what their purpose is for.
Okay, so the basic will is a will for, let's say you have a family and you are a husband and wife or a couple and you don't have any children. So then what basically happens is you can go and say, I want my estate to bequeath to my spouse or my loved one. You might have minor children that are part of your estate, and if you had to pass away, rightly as you said, that assets might go to the Guardian's Fund. And unfortunately, in June this year, the news reported a 17 to 18 million rand fraud case was opened up against the Guardian's Fund and some money that was stolen there. And that money is actually supposed to go to minor children. So it's really important that if you have a will and you have minor children, that you go and say, how do I want my estate and the people that are left behind to manage those funds so that my children can be taken care of? Because it's very difficult, and we've seen how many people suffer to get their funds from the Guardian's Fund for minor children that actually need schooling and need to be taken care of financially, and they can't. So that is where in your will you might have what we call a testamentary trust that is actually formed to make sure your kids are taken care of in case of your passing.
And maybe just take us through, I think, just the last bit of that you were talking about. If somebody passes away and they don't have a will, we know that it goes into the Interstate Succession Act. What does that actually mean? I know that you've touched on it a bit, but maybe in layman's term, what then, takes place, especially for those left behind?
Okay, so the first misnomer is no, it doesn't go to the state. A lot of people think interstate means the money is left to the government and they can do with the money. It's not the case. Interstate basically means they go according to the per stirpes rules of saying, how does your family tree work? Now, in a practical sense, if you have a, let's say it's a couple with let's say 3 children, and the one person passes away, and there's no will in place, then what happens is practically that money would be divided into 4 different portions, and the spouse would only get 1 portion. And the children, the minor children, might get the other portions. And then that money is not available for the spouse to take care of that children. That money goes and lies at the Guardian's Fund. And if you don't have any children or you don't have a spouse, then that money might go to people, to parents or siblings, and some people that you actually don't want to inherit that money from. And it's really important that you go and say, a will is there to say, I want to make sure that I make life easier for those left behind so that they know what my wishes are and not try to assume what might have been my wishes in the process. Now, I want to use a practical example is, when my father passed away, he had a will in place. And at some stage, we were wondering, did he have a will? And we had to go and look for that will. And that made our life so much easier when we knew the will was there and we know exactly what his wishes were.
And what happens if, somebody passes away and they don't have a will, they have no children, they have no siblings, they have no parents? What then happens?
Okay, see, if they have no siblings, no parents, no family whatsoever, then that money would then, unfortunately, at some stage go and be left to the government, and that the government would lay hold of that money. But that is only in extreme cases where there's no siblings, no family, no one that you have available in your family tree.
Stian, a number of companies right now are offering, wills for free. I've seen this on banking apps. I've seen this with investment groups, maybe if you can just give us a bit of information when it comes to, the misinformation surrounded by some of these companies. Are these wills for free? If your bank is saying, come to us and we can draw up your will for free, maybe just give us a bit of the information there in that regard.
Okay, so I think it's really important that in Wills Week, there are companies that actually give money wills for free, and you can go, like with NMG benefits, you can come to us and we can help you with a complimentary will. However, unfortunately, there are companies out there that use the will as a front to try and sell you something else, try and sell you insurance or try and sell you a policy. They say it's for free, but in their books, unfortunately, there's nothing like a free lunch. So it's very important to make sure that if someone say it is for free, that it is actually for free. Another thing that they do, that a lot of companies do, is they take that information and they pass it along throughout their network. Unfortunately, Poppy is there, but sometimes people, without knowing it and ticking a box, would then go and that data would be available for someone else. So it's really important that you work with a trusted advisor, someone that you trust, maybe someone that came through a reference, and go to that person and say, can you help me with my will? Because one thing that's really important is a will is one thing, but also making sure your will is executable is another. Because it's no use you have a will, but your assets and the way it's structured, you might have to sell a property or something like that. So it's important to make sure you know that your will is actually executable and the calculations are done to ensure that.
And maybe what should people be looking out for when they draw up a will? What is the safest, process for people to look out for when drawing up their wills?
Okay, drawing up a will, as I said, first of all, go to a reputable, trusted person that can help you, not just someone that tries to sell you a will, but someone that actually says, let's see how we execute your will. So that is where you deal with a proper financial planner or estate planner to help you in that process. That's step one. Step two then is to take that will and say, okay, what are the aspects in the will that needs to be taken care of? Do I have a guardian for my minor children? Do I want to be cremated? Do I want to be buried? Do I want to have a living will that says if I were in an accident or I'm lying in hospital and the doctor says there's no way that this guy or lady is going to make it, and if they do, they'll probably be on life support or tubes for the rest of their life. Do we switch off the machines or do we keep it on? Decisions like that is really important. Organ donation is really important. Also, who are the trustees that take care of my children? And someone that can explain all the intricacies of your will is really important. So when dealing with someone, a good suggestion or rule of thumb is go to a certified financial planner, a CFP that has the experience and the expertise to actually explain the whole process and not just sell you something. Yeah.
And just lastly, before we wrap up, Stian, of course, it is a Wills Week. What is the process for someone trying to get their will done for free and on a normal basis? So without Wills Week, how much does a will cost?
That is a very good question. Well, normally, most companies, like what we do, most companies charge very, very little for a will, 100, 200 Rand for a will to be drawn up. There are companies, however, that charge up to into the thousands for a will. But that is normally when you have a very, very intricate will to have a look at. Now, we in NMG, we have, and there's a lot of places you can Google wills for free or places like that. You can go to your financial planner. You can even go to the Financial Planning Institute, the FPI's website, and search for a financial planner that is CFP approved, accredited, and those individuals can help you with drawing up a will. And most instances, people will charge you very, very little for a will. So it's not necessary to go to a lawyer. Some lawyers will do it complimentary, but most lawyers will charge you a lot of money. But you don't have to do that. You can go to either your bank or a reputable financial institution that can help you for a very, very nominal fee to get a will drawn up.
Stian, thank you so much for your contributions on our show, and thank you so much for your time. That is Stian de Wet, of course, Executive Head of Financial Planning at NMG Benefits.